Hi, everyone. So I think we'll get this started just to make sure everybody's in the right place. So this is a presentation about the biology department at Gettysburg College for prospective students. So I assume most of you have just recently been admitted and are thinking about Gettysburg and thinking about biology at Gettysburg as a possibility. So, we'll just give you a bit of an overview of what we do and give you a chance to ask questions. Probably the best way to ask questions is to type them into the chat function. And you can do that at any time. If you want to start entering questions as soon as you feel like it, that's fine. Although we may get to, I'm going to do a bit of a presentation up front, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then I've got a couple of current students with me, Rachel Loney over here and Claire Woodward. And they'll also talk a little bit about their experiences. And then we'll open it up to questions. So it's, certainly possible that we'll anticipate, we'll answer your question even before you ask it. But certainly we have a chance to hit on anything that we don't talk about otherwise. So sorry about the weird format. Obviously, this is, everybody's living online and via Zoom these days. So it's unfortunate that we can't do this in person, but it is the nature of the beast. So we will make the best of it. So I do have, I think probably the best way to do this is to screen share. So I do have a bit of a PowerPoint I can run through. I was going to go over our bit about our curriculum, bit of an overview of biology, of the courses we offer, research opportunities, internship stuff, a little bit about where our majors wind up, touch briefly on our biochemistry and molecular biology program, which is jointly run by the biology department and the chemistry department. I'll touch a little bit on our neuroscience minor, which is co-run between biology and psych. And probably a few other things, and then I'll let Rachel and Claire talk a bit, and then we can take your questions. Oh, and I should probably introduce myself. So I'm Matt Kittelberger. I'm the chair of the biology department at the moment, and my expertise is in neurobiology and animal behavior. I teach neurobiology. I teach cell biology. I also occasionally teach intro biology. All right, so let's roll. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so we can do a bit of a PowerPoint. Okay, there we go. Okay. Nope, I think that is the... Okay, cool. Claire, are you seeing that PowerPoint clearly? Yep. Okay, awesome. All right, so we will roll. Okay, so, all right, so again, I just want to give a bit of an overview of our curriculum. So the biology major, we have a couple of options. You can do a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts. They are very similar. The requirements are almost identical. The Bachelor of Science is 15 total courses. 10 being within biology and 5 being other science courses like chemistry, math, things like that. The Bachelor of Arts, as I said, is basically the same. It's two fewer courses. Most of our students do a Bachelor of Science. The Bachelor of Arts is really mainly for people who are trying to do double majors or trying to do bio with multiple minors, and they find that they just can't quite fit in all of those bio courses on top of their other commitments. And so we have an option to do a little bit less and still get a bio major. So in your, we have 4 courses that are required, 4 bio courses that are required. Everything else is your option. Plus you also have to take a year of intro chem, 2 semesters of chemistry. Most people in their first year will take our first semester intro bio course, which is focuses on ecology and evolution with a bit of genetics thrown in. The second semester in the spring of your first year, you'd usually take our second semester intro course, which focuses on anatomy and physiology. People sometimes take intro chem their first year, sometimes they delay it to their second year. Works both ways. It's really just a matter of whether you want to dive in with 2 sciences your first year, or whether you want to sort of have a slower start and just do 1 science and sample other things before diving in with both feet. We also require a genetics course, which most people take their sophomore year, and a cell biology course, which people take either their sophomore or junior year. Those are the only just straight up required courses. Everything else is really up to you what you want to take. We do ask that you take 1 course in each of 3 different areas. So the first of these areas is what we call molecular and cellular biology. We ask you to take at least 1 course in this area, but you have quite a few choices, as you can see on the screen, of different options to take within this field. We also ask that you take an organismal course. And so, this is focusing on the organismal level, on individual organisms and their anatomy, their physiology, their evolution. And again, you can see there are a bunch of different options there. The courses I have highlighted in blue are courses that have extensive field trips as part of the semester. Some of those are local, some of those are further afield, in North Carolina or Florida, or even overseas, although obviously we're not running those this current semester. We then also ask people to take a course that we refer to in this area that we refer to as population and community. It tends to focus on ecology and ecological relationships among animals. And again, the courses noted in blue are courses that do a lot of field work. I should point out that these courses do rotate around. Not all of them are taught every year. Some of them are taught in alternating years to give us the chance to offer more courses overall. And we're always kind of adding and subtracting courses from these lists. So, every year we're going to add a couple courses that are brand new and remove a couple courses that are maybe a little outdated and we're not happy with anymore. So these lists are not fixed in stone. Everybody needs to do some sort of capstone research experience. There are a couple of different models for how to do this. Some people do independent senior research projects where they're working closely one-on-one with a professor in their lab or in the field and doing their own research project. Other people will do this capstone research as part of a course. So we have a number of 300 level courses that have embedded in them a large research project that fulfills this requirement. All right, so we'll move on quickly and talk a little bit about the biochemistry and molecular biology major. So this is a separate major from the bio department. We don't have a department for this, so as this program is run jointly between biology and chemistry. It's for students who really want to focus intensely on the cellular and molecular stuff and are a little bit less interested in, maybe the organismal biology or the ecology. It is an 18-course major. There are quite a few just flat out required courses within this. It's not quite as flexible in being able to, pick and choose courses as the biology major is. There are a couple of electives you can pick at the end, but most of it's pretty laid out for you. Includes a lot of biochemistry, a lot of chemistry, obviously, and a bit of math and physics as well. We have a neuroscience minor. We do not have a neuroscience major at Gettysburg. Some schools do. We have a neuroscience minor, which is typically a lot of bio majors and a lot of psych majors. There are a few health sciences majors who also minor in neuroscience, a few BMB majors occasionally who pick up a neuroscience minor. So this is jointly run between the bio and the psych department. It's a 6-course minor. Most minors at Gettysburg are 6 courses. Includes 2 required courses from the psych side of things and 2 required courses from the bio side of things, and then a couple of electives that you can pick up on your own. It's worth mentioning, just because a lot of our students are interested in medical school, that you can come to Gettysburg and major in quite a number of different things and head off to med school afterwards. A lot of people choose to be bio majors. A lot of people choose to be biochemistry majors if they're interested in med school. But you can really do whatever you want. You simply have to take all of the pre-med requirements, which are listed here, which are going to be the same at any college you go to, right? This is something that med schools establish, not colleges. So this would be the same no matter where you chose to go. I think that's it. If you do have detailed questions about med school, we can talk about them later in the question and answer session. And we also do have some specific sessions like this from our pre-health advising group that you can attend as well. But I'm happy to answer any med school questions. I'm part of the pre-med advising committee on campus, so I should be pretty well prepared to answer any med school questions you might have. We do send some people off to teach biology. Teach high school biology is not a super common destination for our students, but we do have an education department on campus. And so it is possible to do a bio major and at the same time do an education minor. And that will set you up well to leave Gettysburg and teach. And we have a few students every year who do this. So it's a fun option if that's something that you're interested in. Lots of internship opportunities. So our students do internships. Most students are going to do 2 or 3 of these over the course of their time here. Some quite a few. Some will do quite a few more. These are things that are in hospitals and other kinds of medical practices. Some of them are in the pharmaceutical industry and biotech companies. Penn State has a fruit research lab right up the road. This is a very Gettysburg is a fairly agricultural area. There's a lot of orchards around. And so there's a lot of work done a lot of research work done in how to control pests and optimize yields and things like that. So if for students who are interested in agriculture, there are options for agriculture intensive internships locally. People do internships and research labs at universities all around the country. We have close connections. We're pretty close to Washington, D.C. So students will take advantage of that to go do internships at the National Institute of Health, at the National Cancer Institute, which is about 30 minutes from us down in Frederick, or the U.S. Army Research Unit for Infectious Disease, Walter Reed Medical Center. There's tons of excellent biomedical research that's going on in the Baltimore, D.C. area that we send students to all the time for internships. Students also do quite a bit of research on campus. So there are multiple ways to do this, and I think Claire and Rachel will talk about this, what they've done to be research engaged when they chat in a minute. You can do research during the academic year. You can do that for credit. Either they're quarter credit options, they're full credit options, senior research theses. You can kind of tailor this to how much you want to dive in, how much work you want to do. And then a lot of people do research over the summer. We have, most summers we have funding through some generous donors that will cover up to about 50 to 60 students to stay on campus every summer and work with Gettysburg faculty. These are paid research internships, so you don't have to sacrifice your ability to earn money over the summer. And we get all of the students together every week to have roundtable conversations, learn how to present their research, et cetera. And so that's a fun opportunity for people who want to stick around and do research over the summer. Our faculty in biology have a wide range of research interests. This is some of them. I couldn't cram everything onto the slide. There are currently 13 members of the biology department who are research active, and this just lists some of what they do. It's everything from very molecular and genetic research up to animal behavior and ecology and evolution, and sort of everything in between. We are a small place, so obviously we can't cover every single area of biology that you might consider, which is why students do choose often to do research at other universities over the summer. So that's a very viable option. But we are active and we do represent a lot of different areas in biology. Study abroad is definitely a very common thing among our students. So think about 60%, the last numbers I looked at were about 60% of our biology majors do wind up studying abroad. It requires a little planning. You have to plan in advance to make sure you've got all the courses that you want to take here taken care of. But there are lots of different options to study abroad. Some people will choose to take some biology while they're abroad. And that means generally that you're going to an English-speaking country or to a program that teaches their courses in English at least. But also there's, it's also very possible to set things up so you don't need to take science when you're abroad. So you can just take a semester and go to Italy and learn about art history. That's very easy to make happen if you want. Students do all sorts of things. We have obviously lots of students who do the traditional stuff, going to med schools, going to graduate schools, PhD programs. We send students to vet schools. We send students to all sorts of what we refer to as the allied health professions, all of those different niches within the biomedical and clinical world, nursing or genetic counseling, physician's assistant, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of our students will work for a few years before they go on. So students will go off and work as a lab technician or a wildlife biologist and do that for a couple of years before heading off to graduate school. That's a pretty common destination for a bunch of our students. So that really is, there's a pretty quick skim through. That's really all I want to talk about. So I think I'm gonna exit out of my screen sharing here, and I'm gonna give Claire and Rachel a chance to talk for a little bit, and then we can open it up to questions. So as I said, if you guys want to, anytime you want to start typing anything into the chat with questions, feel free. And in the meantime, I'm just going to let Rachel talk a bit about her life at Gettysburg.
Yeah, so as Dr. Kittleberger's PowerPoint slide mentioned, I'm a senior, I'm a biology major. In my time at Gettysburg, I've also picked up an English minor, and I've also been really active in the Sunderman Conservatory of Music. And I also had a study abroad experience in Denmark last spring. So there are lots of different ways to be active in the campus community and be part of lots of different disciplines, even while you're pursuing a STEM major. One thing that's really shaped my time in the bio department is the research opportunities that we've had. So I actually began working in one of the research labs in the spring semester of my first year at college. So second semester that I was ever at Gettysburg. And I've been working there for 3 years now. So during the school year, perform research there, but I've also had the opportunity to do that over the summer as part of our summer research program, which we call the Cross-Disciplinary Summer Institute at Gettysburg, or XSIG for short. So XSIG is the internship sort of thing that Dr. Kittleberger mentioned, where you can apply to different professors' labs and based on what your research interests are, and look for someone who does research that's interesting to you. And then if you're selected, you get to participate in this summer program where you learn a lot about how scientific research is conducted in a real lab. But you also get to learn lab techniques that then are applicable to your other classes or things that you might want to do after school. So if you have any interest in research, or even if you don't think that you do, I would encourage giving the program a look and reading a little bit more about all of our different faculty members' research interests, just because they're really varied. And personally, I didn't know that I was going to be a bio major when I came to college. I came in very undecided. And then I joined our research lab and I fell in love with it. So I would definitely recommend just taking a look at some of the information that's provided on some of the websites.
Cool.
Hi guys, I'll jump in. So I am a senior BMB major. BMB is Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. Dr. Kittleberger just gave you a pretty brief overview of that, but that's kind of combining chemistry and biology together into one big major, which has been really great. I'm also a minor in German studies. So like Rachel, I've been involved across campus. I've been a tutor for the German department. I've also been a lab TA for biology, and I've been a tutor for the chemistry department as well. So I've gotten really involved in that aspect of campus, which is a really great opportunity. And I think a lot of you, or at least many of our students in the biology department, end up having that opportunity as juniors and seniors to get involved in tutoring or in teaching in labs or helping to teach in labs. We never have students actually run our labs. It's always run by a professor, but you can help and you can get experience in that way. And that's another way to get research experience. It's also really important to mention, so I've like Rachel, been involved in a research lab and doing independent research since my freshman year, and I also did a summer at Gettysburg with the XSIG program. But I've also done summer research at NYU and done an internship off campus for that. And that's a really, really great opportunity to do research at a really big institution, which is completely different than the type of attention that you get at Gettysburg. And I think I didn't realize how much different it was until I went and did that, because at Gettysburg, all of our courses are very directed toward teaching you how to think like a scientist and teaching you how to really become the scientist that you want to be. And so when you're going through even the lower level classes, even the intro biology and the genetics and cell biology courses that are required, what you'll find is that you're actually learning how to do research already. They may not be your capstone courses, and you might not be doing that intensive research that you would do as a senior, but you're already doing it at that level. And that's something that you don't see at a lot of institutions. It's a totally different type of research training that you get at a smaller school like Gettysburg that you don't get at a place like NYU, where I did my summer internship, and I went there and everyone was shocked that I knew how to do research already. So that's a really important, I think, aspect of my experience.
So, so we've got a bit of time for questions. We've got one so far. So I'm just gonna, as you type questions into the chat room, I'm just gonna read them so that everybody can hear the question and share in the answer. So the question is whether most interested students get offered a spot for the summer science internships. So these are competitive. We offer spots for about 55 total students, but that's across all the sciences. That includes chem majors and physics majors and computer science and math. Biology really kind of makes up the bulk of that. I would say, typically 25 of those 55 students are going to be coming from the bio department or working in biology labs within the bio department, I should say. But that's still not, that is competitive. So what I think the people who tend not to get selected tend to be first-year students. It's hard as a first-year student to get accepted to the program. We do always, every year, accept some first-year students, but I think most of the students who get turned away tend to be first-year students. But then if those students persist and they come back the next year and they apply, they're almost always going to get a spot. So I would say if, in a given year, probably about half the people who apply get spots and about half don't. But if you look over the course of 4 years, 90 to 95% of the people who are applying for these positions wind up getting them at least once, is based on the numbers I've seen at least. So I hope that answers your question. Claudia, if you have a follow-up, let me know. But, okay, there's another question, which is there a certain science major that normally goes to apply for the PHAGE and XSIG programs? So the PHAGE program is probably not going to be running this year. That's a first-year research-intensive program that we ran for a number of years. We've put it on pause for a few years because we haven't had someone to teach it recently. And we are working on trying to figure out whether we're going to resuscitate that. It's a really cool program, but it's also a ton of resources for a very small number of students. And our concern is we kind of feel like we might be better off using those resources sort of spread more widely. Anyway, that's the PHAGE program. But then the other question there was about certain science majors that apply for XSIG. As I said, it's really everyone. It's across the board. They're bio majors, they're BMB majors, they're chemistry and physics. So it's really, you can do any science major you want and participate in XSIG. Which is fun. And I think one of the nice things about that summer research experience is you really get to bond pretty closely with science majors from other departments, maybe more so than during the academic year. I'm getting nods from Rachel and Claire, so that's good.
If I can just add one thing about the PHAGE, even though we might not have the class offered for a little while. I actually work in our phage lab, so we still have an active research lab dedicated to studying phage evolution. It's just that there might not be a class offered for
Yes.
a little while.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. So the next question is, how would you go about getting involved in research within the department? I don't know, Claire or Rachel, do you want to dive in and take that?
So I have worked in 2 independent research labs in the biology department, and both times I was actually asked to join the lab. I didn't pursue it directly, and it's because I made relationships with those professors and I got to know them and I demonstrated that I was interested in their research. And so that's what I would really recommend doing is if there's somebody who does really cool research that you're super interested in, tell them that because they want to have interested students in their lab.
Yeah, I had the same experience. If I showed an interest and then the professor who runs our lab contacted me to ask if I would be interested. But she also, she taught my intro biology course that I took my first semester. And she also put out an application form to all of our class so that everyone could apply to be in her lab. So even if she didn't necessarily have a personal connection, you could still reach out to her and talk to her about it.
Yep. And there is an application process for the summer research program that's very broadly advertised and pretty clear, so that even if you don't have a connection with a particular professor, you can go through that application process and find a lab that works for you. And that application process starts in January of every year for the summer. Next question is about whether it's possible to be on the pre-med track and study abroad, and the answer is absolutely. Quite a large number of our pre-med study abroad. I would actually say I think the majority of our pre-med study abroad. There are a number of programs that are pretty science friendly, pretty pre-med friendly abroad, including Denmark, which is where Rachel went. But again, you can also plan things out so that you don't have to take any science courses or any pre-med courses while you're abroad. We've had, people who went to med school, who went to, Scotland and Chile and South Africa and didn't really take any sciences while they were abroad. So it is very possible. It requires some planning, and you work with your academic advisor about how to set that up so you can take all the courses you need your freshman and sophomore years and then study abroad your junior year. So very, very possible and very much encouraged. And med schools like to see it too. So because they feel like you're getting cross-cultural knowledge that is really valuable when you're going to eventually be treating patients coming from a whole variety of different backgrounds. That ability to understand different cultures becomes really important. So what else can I answer for people? How are we dealing with labs during the current shutdown? Yeah, so that's very much a course by course thing. I don't know, Claire and Rachel, do you want to talk about how your classes are handling labs?
Yeah, I'm only in one biology course right now at the moment. And the way that we're dealing with it is our professor is able to find a lot of online modules that pretty closely matched what we would have been doing in lab anyway. So instead of getting to actually do the things in person, we're doing them online instead to still learn the material. And then we're just changing up how we're doing our final project, where we're just writing a paper instead of presenting her with our work.
Yeah, so my only bio class right now is actually my capstone research project, which actually that sounds bad, but I actually really lucked out because I've been doing this research for 2 years now. So there were a couple of experiments that I'm not going to get to finish up, which I'm sad about, of course. But for the most part, my research is pretty much, it was just tying up the loose ends at that point. So I'm still writing my paper. I'm still presenting my capstone virtually, of course. So that's been handled really well. And I would say from everyone else that I've talked to about it, I have friends who are in other labs as well. And a lot of them are doing something similar to what Rachel said, where they're having some kind of online meeting to talk about what they would have been doing in lab and kind of finding a virtual way to learn that material anyway.
There's a lot of in silico work. You know, biology in general is becoming increasingly computational. There's a lot more, you know, sort of bioinformatics tools that people are using to analyze biological data. And so I know a number of professors are taking advantage of this to really dive into that world and talk about, you know, genome evolution and, you know, evolution of viruses, for example, in the current time. And I know our developmental biology class is doing a lot of really, really cool cutting edge, you know, online tools to explore developmental biology. So there's some creative stuff you can do. Obviously, it's not hands-on. We're not teaching you the actual in-person lab techniques that we'd like to be teaching you. And so we'll go back to that as soon as this is over, which I'm sure it will be before too long. So what else can I answer for you? I don't see any other questions coming in, but I'm happy to entertain anything else if you can think of anything. If not, oh, here we go. So what is your favorite part about the biology department? I am guessing that this is a question for you guys and not for me.
Okay. For me, hands down, the research. I'm very passionate about research. I am actually in August going to be starting a PhD program in a biomedical research field called biophysics, if you're familiar with that at all. It's kind of like structural biology, so I'm going to be looking at the structures of proteins and how they interact with one another. So I intend to have a career that is focused around basically biological research. I'm really passionate about it, and I would have never even thought that that's what I wanted to do until I came to Gettysburg. It would not have even occurred to me. So definitely my favorite thing about the department, about everything that we do, is research.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also had no idea that I was going to be interested in doing any kind of research when I came into Gettysburg. But yeah, I've really loved the research that we've done. And I, just like Claire, I'm gonna have a gap year or two, but I'm also planning to do grad school for something with research at some point. But I would also say that something that initially really drew me to the school and to the bio department in particular is that the professors really care about us. I feel like I've established a lot of relationships with different members of the faculty. And I'm sure that you can say that about every school. It's not like people outside of Gettysburg hate their students, but I really feel like I established personal relationships with my professors. And even just from when I got to visit the school, before I was even accepted, it was obvious that people really had connections with their professors.
So I do want to point out that you don't have to do research as a bio major at Gettysburg. So these two have done a ton of research and really dove into that. And we certainly pride ourselves on having that be an opportunity for people. But it's not if research isn't your thing, if you want to be more focused on clinical stuff, pre-med stuff, it is not certainly a requirement that you dive in and do lots of research, and plenty of our students don't. So then there was a question about what made you pick the biology program. Rachel, you sort of, you kind of just answered that, I guess. Claire, do you want to take a stab at this? More for B&B, but.
Yeah, so I'm a biochemistry and molecular biology major. And I came to Gettysburg with that in mind. I actually thought that I wanted to be pre-med for a certain amount of time. I started doing research. I was actually in the phage program when that was offered. And so I started doing a research intensive course on my first day of college. And it didn't take me very long to decide that, no, I wasn't going to be a doctor. I was going to be a research scientist. So my friends like to say I got turned to the dark side very quickly. But yeah, I came into the department and to BMB kind of already knowing that I wanted a career in STEM. I just wasn't really sure what that was going to be yet.
So the next question is about one I think I'll take, which is the average size of intro classes. So our intro bio, meaning the first 2 semesters, your first fall and spring of your first year, we try to keep those classes, the lecture classes, capped at 32. Sometimes if there's enough enrollment pressure, that drifts up a little bit to like 35 or 36, but that's where we leave it. Labs for that are always capped at 14 or 16, so you're always in a smaller lab. And then when you get up into the 200 and 300 level classes, most of those are going to be between 12 and 24 students, depending on the class. Some of them are 12, some of them are 16, some of them are 24. Those are pretty typical sizes for our upper level classes. Next question is what programs do you have that allow you to figure out your concentration? So I assume this is for people who are, a bit unsure in their first year what they want to do. And we would encourage you to, if biology is one of the things you're interested in, we would say take intro bio. But that's only 2 courses, your one course your fall semester, one course your spring semester. So that gives you a lot of opportunities to explore other things. Take a first year seminar, take a math class, take an English class, take a history class, play around with some other ideas that might be things that you're interested in, so that, by the end of your freshman year, you've got a pretty good idea. You don't technically have to declare a major until your sophomore year, but most people who are going to be science majors, you kind of want to figure that out by the end of your first year. If you're going to be a BMB major, you probably want to figure that out sooner. BMB is pretty intensive with 18 classes. So that's something where you kind of want to know by probably spring of your freshman year. And I think most BMB majors enter at least with that idea in mind that maybe that's something that they're going to do. Is that fair, Claire?
Yep.
Yeah. So biology is a little more flexible. It's fewer courses, and so you have a little more wiggle room to play around, explore other options, maybe be a little bit slower about diving in. So hopefully that addresses that question. Anything else? So I'm going to, if we are good, one of the things, what I'll do is put up, I'm going to reshare my screen here in a moment, and I will leave up my email address, and there's all kinds of information on the department website, which is linked off of this. So I'll just put that up so you can jot that down, and I would encourage anybody who has further questions to shoot me an email anytime. And I'm happy to answer those. So I'm gonna wave goodbye, and I'll let Claire and Rachel wave goodbye, and then I'm just gonna share I'm not gonna end the meeting right now. I'm just gonna share my screen here. So here's my email address, as I said. So if you want to just jot that down, you are, and obviously you can also find me on the web. So even if you don't jot that down, I'm easily findable on our website. So I would thank you all for attending, and bid you a fond farewell. And if you have any further questions about Gettysburg or biology at Gettysburg, just drop us a line.